Okay, so today in the Precon Chop Shop, we are putting together an EDH concept deck for the Lord of the Nazgul, a legendary card from the Hosts of Mordor Precon that will have a very easy time commanding its own army of wraiths. As usual, these EDH concept videos focus on the core strategy of the decks, leaving room for you to fill in the blanks with your favorite choices of mana base, removal, ramp, card draw, and protection cards in these colors. Now that that's done, let's talk about the commander. Lord of the Nazgul is a 4/3 legendary wraith noble with flying for 3 blue-black. It says wraiths you control have protection from ring bearers, which for the most part we probably won't have to worry about. It also has whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 3/3 black wraith creature token with menace. Then, if you control 9 or more wraiths you control have base power and toughness 9/9 until end of turn. So the easiest way to build this is to make a Spellslinger deck to generate the wraiths that we'll be attacking with. However, with some imagination, there's some creatures that we can throw in here as well. For the Spellslinger side of the deck, we could go with a control strategy with a lot of counter spells and removal, but that's not particularly fun for me, and if we're being honest, the table won't enjoy it very much either. I mean, after all, we want the table to be able to play the game, right? So instead, how about we get some 2-for-1 deals with our spells first? Copy spells and clones will be pretty fun to go with, as well as being versatile when your commander isn't on the field. Since we can't copy our wraiths if we don't have any on the field, let's start with our wraiths. Now obviously, we're going to want the 9 Nazgul cards in the deck. However, as I write this, they're $10 each, and there is no way I can say to include $90 worth of flavorful uncommon cards in the deck. Pick them up and replace cards as they become cheaper, because I honestly think they'll become much cheaper over time. So aside from those 9 wraiths, we still have a handful of true wraiths. Canoptic Wraith is an artifact creature wraith that can't be blocked, and you may sack it for 3 when it deals combat damage to search for 2 lands, but you probably won't need to use that effect. Instead, if it's on the field and we do all of the things, you're gonna have an unblockable creature that is a 9/9 if everything goes smoothly. Bog Tatters, Bog Wraith, Dirtwater Wraith, Odilic Wraith, Street Wraith, and Witch King, Bringer of Ruin are mana-hungry wraiths, but some have Swamp Walk, which means the creature is unblockable as long as the defending player controls a swamp, which can make them a very dangerous threat to our opponents. Next are our honorary wraiths. Bloodline Pretender, Changeling Outcast, Grave Shifter, Lidyara Kinseekers, Shapesharer, and Venomous Changeling are all changelings with various effects that will simply add to our wraith count, because Changeling is every creature type, including wraiths. Shapesharer is the most expensive one at about $10, but since we're not focusing on copying our opponent's creatures, this one can be left out unless you really want to use it. And finally are our clone wraiths. Cephalid Face Taker, Clever Impersonator, Clone, Cytoplasm, Jwari Shapeshifter, Mirror Image, Undercover Operative, Vizier of Many Faces, Spark Double, and Phyrexian Metamorph. The goal here is to copy our own wraiths, but if our opponents have a creature with a really good effect we can use our clones to get our own copy of whatever it is on the field. Phyrexian Metamorph and Spark Double are the most expensive options at about $7 each, but unlike other clones, Phyrexian Metamorph will also copy artifacts in addition to creatures, which can be particularly powerful, and Spark Double can copy our commander, which will double the number of wraiths we can create when we cast a spell, which can be awesome if it sticks around. So now that we have wraiths on the field, let's make more copies of them and put our commander to work. For sorceries, we throw in Mirage Mockery, Quasi-Duplicate, Rite of Replication, Sahili's Artistry, Stolen Identity, and Irenicus's Vile Duplication. Now here's the thing with these spells. If our commander is out, we will get 2 wraiths for the price of 1. You cast a spell targeting one of your wraiths, creating a token wraith from your commander, and then getting the wraith copy that the spell makes. This is where the high cost of those clone spells is somewhat mitigated and made more worthwhile because we're getting more out of it. Irenicus's Vile Duplication should always target your commander if it can, for the same reason that Spark Double should. For instances, we're using Cackling Counterpart and Sea Double, which can create your wraiths at instant speed, which can be really effective if you have the wraiths to make them huge and you need a couple of massive 9/9 blockers. And finally, we have Endless Evil, an aura that will create a copy of the enchanted creature at each upkeep, which is a 1/1. But thanks to our commander, if we activate the ability with a spell, those 1/1s become 9/9s. If you enchant one of your changelings, they will also count as horrors for this aura's effect, which will get the aura back to your hand, which is amazing. After that, there are a few tribal support cards that we should include to help our deck succeed. Metallic Mimic is a pretty good include here since it can count as a wraith, but more importantly, it'll put a 1/1 counter on all of our wraiths when they ETB. If we can make copies of this card, not only will we get more wraiths, but we'll get more counters on future wraiths that we get on the field. And then there's Kindred Discovery, an enchantment that will let you draw a card when our chosen creature type ETBs or attacks, which in this case is wraiths. This should mean a lot of cards put into our hands as our deck does what it's supposed to do. And then finally, Crashing Drawbridge, which will give all of our wraiths haste. Now here is where personal flavor will dictate the direction that you take the deck. We want to get more instances and sorceries in the deck to trigger our commander more often. But since we're moving away from control, the majority of these spells should be protection spells like Mizzium Skin or Redirect, and draw spells like Sign in Blood or Opt. This will help keep your commander safe and on the field, as well as refilling your hand as you cast all of your spells. There are a lot of options for these two categories of spells, so your choices are wide open, which is why I'm not going to be expounding on it and giving you a long list of cards that could go in this section. But that means that's the core of our Wraith Tribal deck. The trick from here on out will be balancing the number of creatures, artifacts, and enchantments with the number of instances and sorceries that are going to be necessary to make your Wraiths huge to close out your games. In that regard, Raise the Palisade is a fantastic option to close out a game. You get your huge Wraiths with the cast of the spell, and you clear the way to demolish your opponent's faces. I'm honestly not sure what the right balance for this will be, since we have a lot of wraiths that can hang around until they get buffed by the Lord of Nazgul, but only playtesting will sort that out. The rest of your deck, like we mentioned at the start, will be your personal choices for ramp, removal, protection, card draw, and land cards, and then you're done. If I'm right, you should have somewhere around 20 cards to play with, 20 slots to make that work, and then you adjust everything else as needed. The deck seems like a lot of fun after I put it together, and is probably the strongest Wraith Tribal commander that we have in the Lord of the Rings set, and one that could be very dangerous with the right deck choices. I wasn't actually going to buy Lord of the Nazgul, but now that I put this together, I might actually pick one up, as long as I can get it cheap anyway. But what do you think of this EDH concept deck for Lord of the Nazgul? Let me know in the comments below, and what direction you might take the deck if you put it together. I'll take a look at the other legendaries from the set to see which ones seem like they're fun to build around, and see what I can whip up. So, in the meantime, like the video if you liked the video, dislike it if you disliked it, and until next time, I'm Spaced Coconut, and you're welcome.